Alright, I'm gonna do the intro. Fuck my life. Hello, and welcome to BonkTable. This episode was filmed back-to-back with... the last episode was Army List, so you get to enjoy that, and... Well, not and this one. This one's gonna release, like, next 2 weeks. I don't know when the fuck... It's getting harder and harder to keep track. Yeah, someday. I'm here with my co-host, Mike.
Hello.
There they are. And... Oh, fuck, we need a rule of the week. I totally forgot.
We can always just say that this is a BonkTable special report and just say to hell with the normal format and get right into the...
No, fuck it, we'll do something lame. Bodyguards, done.
Oh my god, now I have to learn what that rule is.
Yeah, go look it up right now. I'll read it off for everyone. We're just getting right into it. We're not even doing an intro or anything. It's just go. So, bodyguards. When this regiment has a character stand attached to it, it does not become broken as a result of the character stand refusing a duel.
Great. Wow. I'm glad I've never in my life had to pay points for that.
Do you have something in your faction that automatically gives this to you?
Sort of in the sense that the Matriarch Queen can, they'll break, but then they'll unbreak immediately afterwards.
Yeah, but that's
immediately.
That's Dauntless? No, that's Bravery. You did Bravery.
Yeah. So, Bodyguards, I've never encountered it in the wild, and I'm glad that I haven't, because I don't think, it's
there. It doesn't... it's nice, but it's, okay, cool. it's one of those...
It's, fearsome. It's just, cool. Yeah, great. That's a special rule. That's gonna come up.
If someone said, here's a mastered artifact that gave you bodyguards, I'd be like, how much points is these? 10? Yeah, I still, I probably wouldn't even take it if it was free. It's just... Here's the thing about this rule. I don't mind that it exists. I don't mind that it's there, because, yeah, maybe you want that rule of, someone challenges my character to a duel and they don't become broken as if they refuse. Cool, that's great. There's plenty of people who they want characters who aren't going to duel. I know it's on... Oh, what the fuck is it in Old Dominion? As I fucking run around here real quick to go find Old Dominion. It's on one of their regiments. It's on the Athanator. Oh, God. Athanator, yeah. The dual sword guys who are, medium. They have bodyguards. And I believe... Is it a retinue thing? I swear to God, you can give it to a character. Or is it a Dark Blessing?
It's just, to me, it's one of those special rules where it's just there. You're not going to decide to take a unit or a character because of that rule or not because of it.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's just there. It's fine, but if this rule is putting points towards the regiment, I'd rather not have the rule, to be honest, because it's just... There's other ways I can play to prevent characters from getting into duels by not having them go up against those characters that want to duel. There's ways where I can just throw other stuff in the way.
To me, this is like a diaper, and to me the solution there is just don't shit myself, and then I don't have to wear the extra layer. So it's, Here's
the thing. I want this rule on the Theist Priest, the Chapter Mage, the Hero Deacon. I want it on wizards and, weak-ass priests. Not anyone who's meant to fight or kill stuff. Because you can take a Strategos and, Auxiliarch with these things. Yeah, there's Auxiliarch, Strategos. Can you take them? Yeah, Strategos can take them. But, the Archimandrite... can't take them, and these are the Athanatois, and the Hero Deacon can't take them. So you can seek new escort into that unit to get bodyguard, but you don't start in it, and it's I want the wizards to be safe, not the fighty guys.
Yeah, the only thing I thought of, and this is pretty stupid, but I guess this is one thing you could do with the special rule, is that if you've got a dueling guy, you could go into the unit of dueling guys on the other side in such a way that you can say no to a duel, and then when activations come around your way, you could challenge them to a duel, either kill the guy or break them, and then strike with your unit and hopefully hit the shatter. So maybe with bodyguards, there's a crazy Rube Goldberg machine that you can set up to hypothetically shatter a unit before you'd be able to. But I feel like, why am I even arguing in favor of this bad special rule? I take it back. You can't do that. It's impossible.
It's not bad, because like not being broken for refusing duel is kind of a nice thing, because it does happen. It's just not available to the things who don't want to duel, and that's wizards and priests and maybe some shitty ass support characters like the Imperial Officer, like shit like that. It's not available to those, or it's harder to get into those, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm moving a Hero Deacon into Thanatoys who are not that great, and Bodyguard is okay, like what am I really doing? The Hero Deacon's going to be sitting in a unit of Legionnaires in the back, sitting and scoring a zone hall turn, while giving me dark power points. Like, there's better uses. So I find going out of your way to try and gain this rule is just not worth it, even remotely. If it's on something cool, if it's not, whatever. Yeah. Sorry if you're looking for like an in-depth rule of the week, but
how much more depth are we going to wring out of bodyguards?
Yeah. Also, I just picked this one because I had short text, and I was like, yeah, bodyguards, done.
Perfect.
Done. Yeah, we're doing a lot of bees today.
To quote the Ghetto Boys, dropping them motherfucking bees on them.
Jesus Christ. If someone dropped bees on me, I would be like, holy fuck, kill me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to live.
Well, I mean, we've all seen The Wicker Man. Nobody wants to experience a bee attack.
I think I watched that when I was like 12. It's like, not the bees, not the bees. Like, oh my god, Nick Cage, no!
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Wicker Man.
Yeah.
In this year of our Lord 2023, but I'm pretty sure we've skated on the spoiler embargo for that one. I haven't even seen it, is the hilarious part. I've just seen a gif of the bees.
Really?
Yeah. I don't...
Oh, I have watched that movie. I was in Scouts when I was younger, and we watched it for Halloween one year, and it was like, cool.
Well, because a bee attack is Scouts adjacent.
Yeah, it was related to the event of Scouts. We watched that one, and then House of Wax, and House of Wax was like more traumatizing to like 12-year-old Mass.
Oh yeah.
Than The Wicker Man.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair, honestly. That's not an absurd take, but to get into the absurd takes,
the episode for everyone's enjoyment today is the Dweg problem. And we're going to get super controversial for everybody.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Are not great.
Yeah. So I've kind of asked a bunch of people from different skill levels, people who main Dweg, people who play into Dweg, people who've won tournaments, people who play a lot of tournaments, people in different metas, what they think about Dweg and what is the problem. Because it's like, Dweg's OP. And what I'm reading on the general Conquest Discord is that Dweg players are doing like a gentleman's handshake of, oh, we're not going to play the OP stuff of like the Fire Wizard riding the Hellbringer Drake in a unit of Fireforge or like Steel Forge. I'm like, no, you want to win, right? Like, play the OP shit. No, we're playing it locally and I don't want to scare off my players. And there's other times where people do demos where it's like, oh, we did Wadrun into Dweg as a demo and then like they didn't come back because Dweg just smashed them. It's like, yeah, because Dweg's good. So what's going on? Like, so I've asked a bunch of people. Some of the stuff I'm just gonna read verbatim. Other of it, I'm just gonna kind of do the bullets notes of it. But there's a couple things that a lot of people have kind of mentioned to me about of why Dweg is a problem. And there's a thing about like tournament play where it's like, well, Dweg's not running all the tournaments, so obviously it's not OP. It's like, yeah, well, if you know Dweg's going to be at the tournament, you're going to tailor your list to specifically deal with Dweg because you need to deal with it at some point during that tournament. Like, I think at Adepticon, the top 5 players all played into Dweg at one point. Even the Dweg player, I think, had a mirror matchup. So they all had lists tailored to deal with that because they knew what they were going into. While players at a more local level, so us regular scrubs down in the ground in the trenches, we usually come to game day with a list that it's like, oh, this seems really fun. I'm really interested in it. Let's, throw it on the table, see how it plays, and I'll just I'm just playing the game. So I'm not really like building that tournament list. And then the Dweg player just plays Dweg and kills you. And you're like, well, that was fun. So, Mike, do you have any more to say about that, or am I gonna start getting to the breakdown?
No, I mean, that's the long and short of it. It's you have to, whereas with other factions, I think even if you don't have a solid idea of what you're getting yourself into, you can generally, as long as you have a decent idea of how the game works, you can manage to do okay. But with the Dweg, like it's really easy to it's really easy to get dick shotted and then just have a really negative play experience. And relying on and also my take is as somebody who's gotten like just shit canned by Dweg more than enough times. It doesn't feel good for me as a player to be like, oh, you shouldn't run stuff that's too good. So that's something that needs to be fixed at like the game design level. Because expecting people to run suboptimal lists because their army is too good is not
asinine.
Good, yeah.
Like
it puts everybody in a really weird position. Like we had somebody come and play a demo game, who I happen to know just from before that as well, incidentally, but that's neither here nor there. And they were interested in Dweg as one of the factions, and like it's in my heart, I truly want to go just get and buy whatever you think is cool and fun, because it's like you're gonna be stuck with it, so you might as well like it. But at the same time, I couldn't not be like, well, they're kind of bullshit to play against right now. Nobody likes it.
Yeah,
people are going to be actively like I shouldn't say this, but people are going to not love it.
Yeah, like when I pull up to an opponent and they're playing Dweg, it's like I have to play so well on point and make no mistakes, and any mistake my opponent makes is gonna, like, even if it's a major mistake, they can still recover to win, and I'm gonna lose. And it's like, holy fuck. And there's days where it's like, all right, I'm gonna come into the game store, play a game of Conquest, this will be great, and I'll be like, ugh, fuck my life. Like, just stab me 30 times, this would have been more enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, let's get into the nitty-gritty and break her down, and I'm gonna start reading some stuff off. So, from one gentleman, Dweg spellcasting is the strongest aspect of their kit in my opinion, with the double casting. The Warlord can cast 2 spells per turn for a relatively cheap point cost. In 1.5, getting my Warlord Sorcerer fully kitted was over 250 points for the character alone. It's now 160 points for all 3 retinue and reroll 2 fails. The double spellcasting gives some insane numbers, especially with retinue, focus mastery. Examples within 8 inches cast Flame Wall, then Fireball. Average round down is 10 hits, like, math and stuff. Like, I'm going to skip a lot of this because we don't need to read up. So basically, the full kit for the Sorcery Warlord can be Fire School, free spells, Focus Mastery 50 points, full Arcane Retinue 45. The continuous casting, the ability to put this type of caster on top of a Hellbringer Drake is bonkers. You lose the ability to take Retinue and can't take Focus for the rerolls, but putting a second Sorcerer in a list on top of a Drake gives so much pressure, set up any screen in front of it, and you have all the line of sight in the world. Mike, go.
That's all legit. I think that's one of the biggest pain points is the Sorcerer on the Drake, or just the Sorcerer in general. The double cast,
Yep.
So I think it's funny going from 1.5 to 2.0. Part of it was like, oh, we're really looking at spellcasting. We're going to change it a lot so it's a lot more impactful. And everybody thought like, oh, they're going to give us new spells that do a lot more stuff and have more impactful effects on the battlefield. And then the mechanics of casting and interfering with it are going to be a lot different. And then what the actual change was just it takes 2 successes.
Oh, sorry. Interference works on priests or null mage works on priests. One of the two. One of those changes happened, but it was like, okay, cool, thanks.
So it was really
should have been from the start.
Yeah, it just made it easier to cast spells in the overall, and that is what's a huge like. There's no risk and there's no downside to producing tokens for that guy's ability. Not to mention the fact that he gets up on top of a giant animal and has line of sight over everything. So it's like,
just I can show you the world. Watch the devastation I bring upon everyone.
Yeah,
and it's just Aladdin like just raining death upon Jafar.
Yeah, and that's a problem that's just inherent with what they've decided to let that guy do, that character, which is ride the Drake, and that's where we're at now, so I don't think that's going to change. But like when you give the double cast on top of it, and that successfully single or double casting also gives them like have a better time somewhere else tickets. Like,
should we talk about the tickets?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt you in your rant, but it's like we haven't talked about the tickets yet to continue the rant. Oh man. So continuing from the first guy's thing, I'm just going to read verbatim. The armor wheel that comes with the tempered warrior or the tempered sorcerer warlord is the elemental power points, which are almost exclusively to being used for defense checks. I've saved many Hellbringer Drakes because of them. This is also buffed since 1.5. The original rule is that you gained a point when any tempered sorcerer or tempered steel shaper successfully casts a spell. But with 2.0, you can now gain points using the Argent Kilowatt as well. For a while, you would also gain a point every round during the Supremacy Saves, which was not a part of the rules in 1.5, but that has been removed, but the Argent Kilowatt still contributes. This means my list currently generates a max of 4 tokens per turn: Warlord double cast, second sorcerer cast, and Argent cast. So, let's break this down. So what are these points doing? This is I might have to go to the rules army list. I'm just going to go to the supremacy abilities of Dweg so I can just read this verbatim because it matters. Elemental potency, here we go. So it's the Tempered Creed elemental potency. Each time a friendly character stand successfully performs a spellcasting action, gain an elemental power marker and add it to the elemental power pool. You can spend a marker from the pool to automatically count as a success a single defense, clash, or morale test die of any friendly regiment or character stand within 8 inches of a tempered sorcerer or tempered steel shaper character stand. The character stand or regiment may use up to 5 elemental markers during the course of a single action. Using a marker has to be declared before the roll you wish to pass is made, then making the remaining roll. If the regiment would not be normally allowed to pass a defense roll in the case of a social roll like Cleave or Smite, then elemental markers cannot turn that defense roll into success. So that is what that rule does. What is going on, though, is that you have... I just got to go check the... Hellbringer Drake. Okay, cool. So, just check the Hellbringer Drake to make sure I'm not speaking on my asshole. Just gotta close some of these, Jesus. So, what is happening with that rule is that the wizards are running up, they're just casting spells, the Steel Shaper is buffing himself, basically, just generate points each turn. The 2 Flame Wizards, one on the Drake, one on the ground, they're just casting spells as at anything that's close, they don't even care if they hit or not, and they're generating tokens. You used to be able to spend as many tokens as you wanted, but now you can only just spend tokens on, or you can spend a maximum of 5. What is a nerf, but it's still 5 tokens with 5 free hits. And what this does is it combines with Dweg's natural tankiness of being high defense, that even with the loss of those 5 hits that you didn't even get to roll, and then the rest you roll into defense, you're not doing a ton of damage, which allows their more defensible units to survive. And so if you have a unit of Hold Warriors standing in front of a Hellbringer Drake taking hits, you spend those markers on the Hold Warriors just to keep them alive longer, so the Hellbringer Drake can just keep unloading into that regiment because they can see over everyone and just kill them. And also, you just keep your regiments within 8 inches of any of these Tempered Sorcerers or Tempered Seal Shapers, and you're running like 3 of them anyway, so you can cover a good chunk of the board with them. The other one, so they can only be used, single defense roll, clash morale test. You don't really care about the clash morale because if you just make the defense roll, then like you're not taking morale anyway, and clashing, you're just like whatever. All your damage is coming from range and magic anyway, so you don't care. So that's why it's only used exclusively for defense rolls.
And if you have, it makes the condition that if Cleave or Smite would make it an impossible roll, then you can't use it for that. But if they have evasion,
you're good.
Yep, you can still use your bless tickets.
So, your free success tickets. They're not bless tickets. They're way better.
Yeah, they're even better than bless tickets. What am I saying?
So Hellbringer Drake, evasion 2. Infernal Automatas, evasion 2. Steelforge, evasion 1. Fireforger's evasion 0. What else has evasion?
When there was no limit on the number that you could use, I had an entire tier 3 Raptor chant charge clash just get turned off.
Oh, dude, I had 20 hits coming from a bus of Household Knights and Mounted Noble Lord coming into a unit of Fireforge, and my opponent blocked 15 of them. Like, it was like, full stop, do a couple points of damage. Brutal, I think at the time was edition 1.15. It was like, I ended up killing like 5 guys, and then my opponent then was like, I win Supremacy, Flame Wall, Fireball, and I just lost all the Household Knights. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? So that's what's happening there. What's super fun.
So, I mean, in theory, tuning it down is like, it should help, but it's still
doing what it did before. There's a little bit more work. You're not getting like super oppressively, but it was already overpowered and ridiculous before. It still is very strong and ridiculous, and if your opponent is playing that defensive wall of Steelforged, Infernal Automatas, Hold Warriors, Hold Thanes, Dragon Slayer, whatever the fuck else you want, that wall is still there and it's still being defended. Like, reducing 5 attacks is still really good, and then getting blasted. Like, you and I had a game where I played proxied Steelforge into you, and I didn't use a token at all that game because it was like, I didn't need to. I was already strong enough. I didn't need to use a goddamn token to, like, win more.
Yep, and that game was... So that was interesting because, like, usually the counterpoint to Dweg being strong is like, oh, you fed units into them, but, like, I was literally double teaming those Steelforge.
You had 2 Apex Predators. I think you had impact attacks from Warbred into them, and it was like...
They were just shrugging everything.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit.
And then just killing my guys, just, like, batting them away.
I was just blasting you with the Hellbringer Drake. Like,
yeah.
Sweet. Let's see here. Yeah, it's like, so the wizard probably top of the list of problems. Do you agree? Like, the double casting elemental token wizard and then the wizard on the Hellbringer Drake. Would you agree that's like the number one issue with Dweg?
It's definitely, yeah, I would say that's probably the
like
top, yeah.
That ball. Because if you're having one wizard with 2 casts and the elemental power token's like, this is still really, like, shitty. But it's that little extra of the second, like, the wizard on the Drake that really, like, stuffs your shit into you.
Yeah.
I'm not being gentle here. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's like...
The wizard is the roughest part, because it's not only is it generating the tokens, but it's getting 2 offensive spell casts to do it. So, like, we're not even talking about the fact that it's double casting offensive spells, which is not something that really anyone else gets to do. And it's not even like they suck. Like, they're both pretty... One is pretty potent. The other one is just okay.
So I'm going to go back to the math here of, like, within 8 inches. Because you're a Wizard 7 with rerolls and an auto success, you basically get max hits. And Flame Wall, Fireball... It's not uncommon to roll max and it's not uncommon to roll max and hit everything, which would be 14 hits plus X hits per file plus 7 hits AP2, which is 25 hits in total, and morale test still from 8 inches away. Like, that's what the fully kitted out retinue focus sorcerer is doing.
Yeah.
and that's for 160 points. What is enough to probably kill 500 points very quickly. Like, I've had this guy just go, oh, yes, you over there, flame wall, fireball, and I'm like, oh, God, I just lost like 300 points in my ass. Great.
Yeah.
And that was on my opponent rolling poorly. Like, shit, son. So it's just, it's fucking crazy. The other thing that puts this a bit over the edge for this wizard combo is that Fireforge are a mainstay for the tempered, the tempered sorcerer and tempered seal shaper.
Yeah. Fireforged, I feel like, are a unit that themselves, and not to get us too far off track, but they don't. There's so much going on with Dweg that nobody has thought to nerf them when they're insane.
Yeah, so because like we're talking about the sorcerer because this is like the big thing that is really setting Dweg as the apex predator of Conquest, the last argument of Dweg. Everything else that's really good in Dweg gets, like, you know, pushed underneath, pushed under the rug. Like, oh, you don't see it because you have this bright-ass sun wizard just destroying the world. And you're like, wow, that's really deadly. Hey, man, Fireforge. They're volley 2. They're barrage 4, range 14, like armor pierce 2. Their defense through the shield going to 4. Their resolve fucking 4 for some goddamn reason. While the tempered sorcerer, like, the lore is that the Fireforged are failed wizards, while the tempered sorcerer is a successful wizard, and he's only resolved 3. Like, what the fuck is up going on with like the Fireforge unit?
Yeah, it's just yeah, like
and the dick swing wizard who has all the power, like he's like using his what the fuck was that? God damn! Don't make me Google this. Why is my brain melting? I'm Googling this.
But you said
the spirit bomb. There we go. I can't remember the spirit bomb. Like, it's the tempered sorcerer grabbing his spirit bomb, duking people with it, and you get the Fireforge just unloading these blasts into people. And it's like, hey, are the Fireforge like restricted? They're like, no, it's a mainstay. And you're like, what the fuck? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. They're 180 points. No. They're costed appropriately. They just shouldn't be mainstays.
Yeah. I think AP2 on a range unit is nuts. That's actually, like, considering how vulnerable the AP2 unit options are in other factions, to be able to just be like, no, I'm going to hang out from 14 inches away and just, like, cleave through most of your armor while your giant orcs who have the defensive capabilities of wearing, like, a swimsuit into battle have to get all the way up to the guys to cleave punch them.
Like, the only thing off the top of my head that's a mainstay that's AP2 that's in a not a Dweg faction, because the Hellbringer is basically AP2, I believe, the entire
well
time.
I mean like
works.
So Warbred are mainstay, but they're 210 points, and they have
they're cleave 2, they're not AP2. What is a world of difference for effectiveness.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, okay. Yeah,
okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, in terms of AP2, like, I didn't even think that was in the game.
No, it's on the Fireforge, then it's on basically the Hellbringer Drake, because he's AP1 base, but then because of his overcharge rule.
D3 shield? Give me a break. I didn't even notice that till now.
Oh yeah, but it's because you never get to them, because you fucking die before you can even get there.
Are you pissing and shitting me?
Yeah!
So my ranged unit is defense 1.
Yeah, welcome to 100 Kingdoms. You get shot to death.
My ranged unit is defense 1 with a worse shooting profile.
Yeah. How many points are hunters and how many points are slingers?
They're let me pull it up because I don't remember now.
Yeah, no, I'm pulling up multiple of these just so I could be like, look, this is this is fucking absurd. Get the fuck out of here, whole ballistas. You're the only bounce thing in this game.
Slingers get at least 18-inch range. They're 160 points, but you're like, if you're me, you're taking Flint Napper as an auto win, so they're 175. But that's for no AP. Torrential Fire is only on half range and every 2 shots, and then the morale has been nerfed to basically being irrelevant, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, it's nice, but it's not
absolutely devastating like it was before.
Yeah, it's not format warping. Or Hunters are 155 points base, or 15 points to add the Flint Napper, so that's bringing them up to 170. But they're Resolve 2, Defense 1, 14-inch range, AP 1 with deadly shots. So, like,
you're dying. The Fireforge walk up and just unload into you. But it's okay. There's a 30-point difference between the two regiments.
Yeah. And
also they're mediums and you're lights. So.
Yeah. So they can score. So they can hop on a point and just score.
So the only other regiment that I know of off the top of my head is the Kyratids from Old Dominion. Those are the range statues. Volley 2, Barrage 3, Range 20, Armor Pierce 2, their Defense 3, Evasion 1, 5 health.
I'm not mad about that.
And they're 200 points. Like, I think these guys are really good, but I also know I can handle and deal with them.
Yeah.
Fireforge with a Flame Wizard, with what they're doing, just dominate the world. They are, you stick your Tempered Sorcerer, who is a double cast with all his retinue and focus, into the Fireforge. That unit runs around and carries that Flame Wizard around. They get into position, and they Danny DeVito to just start blasting, and then the Flame Wizard just summons his Spirit Bomb and just dunks on someone and kills them. Hellbringer Drake is Barrage 10, range 16, but it might as well say, while with the Sorcerer, it's Barrage 12, range 16, Armor Pierce 2, because of how overcharged and the Hellbringer Drake Rider thing works, because you just get overcharged as a draw event. Like,
there's kind of two sets of units in the Dweg army list. Like, there's your Dragon Slayers and even Hold Thanes. Like, Hold Thanes are very tough from the front, but if you get into their side, you can generally fuck them up pretty good.
Yeah, they can become defense 5, but it's a stacking defense that you can get around. There's a chance. Like, we've talked about why you like draw events and stuff activating when that regiment activates, because there's an opening you can get in and do damage. Like, well, even just Hold Thane. Oh, you want to go?
Well, I was just gonna say, even just D3 and Hardened is in that same zone. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so they are. So Hold Thanes, the defense 3, shield, Hardened 1, so defense 4, ignoring all of Cleave and AP 1. You can put a Herald of Stone on them for 30 points. Why not? To get them defense 5, because that gives them Bastion. But if you charge them from the side, get that activation first, they're defense 3, and if you have Cleave 2, they can go down defense 2, and you can start cutting through Hold Things really fast. Like, there's a workaround, while Fireforge are just kind of, sitting in the back, unloading into whatever's fighting these fucking Hold Things.
Even, Dragon Slayers at D3 with Hardened, it shuts off the majority of the Cleave that they're going to deal with. But
yeah,
a high Cleave unit is still, or a non-high Cleave unit is still gonna eventually
kill them.
Get there, yeah.
Because they're just if you look at it, you could basically say, I want to throw quantity of attacks into Dragon Slayers to kill them, because they're only defense 3. So if I throw 15 attacks at them, if I got 15 hits,
yeah,
eight damage, 7 to 8 damage is gonna get in.
Yeah.
Then that's going to cause resolve. So 2 more. So I've done 10 damage out of their 18 health. So that leaves a stand and 2 wounds left. Sweet.
Yeah. If you're blooded, can get a chant off and get in there. You can.
You do work.
Yeah, you can probably shut them down, and that's fair enough. I'm not Dragon Slayers. Obviously, if they get the first hit, should just
they disintegrate. Man, if they go first,
but.
I've had Dragon Slayers go first and kill all all but like 2 household knights, and it was like, yeah, live boys, live. And they killed like 5 household knights, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck did I not explode here?
Yeah. So how Dragon Slayers went from being the Booger Man of 1.5 to just what I consider to be one of the more balanced units.
Yeah, like out of all Dweghom, Dragon Slayers are the apex of balance right now.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Stats naturally. Sorry, I'm just looking at the army list, so my my eyes naturally flip to the right, and I see the next thing I'm pissed off about.
All right,
that is just flat stat line stats should never get up to 5.
Is it every time about the Steel Forge
and the Magma Forge? Like, take your pick. So at least like the thing that's stupid with Resolve is like.
It's Stone Forge, by the way, not the Magma Forge with Defense 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at both of them, and they've each got... One of them is 5 for...
Too many 5s.
Yeah, too many 5s. But, like, Resolve 5 is irritating because they still get bonuses for unit size. Defense 5 is just asinine. It's just... The game doesn't feel like...
You're hitting a fucking wall at Defense 5. Like,
yeah, like a natural 2?
Like
when they're
fucking Steel Forge.
Yeah,
they went up 10 points. Obviously, that was the fit. No, Defense 5 shouldn't be in this game.
No, I agree.
Or if it's gonna get to Defense 5, you have to work for it. Like, whole things get to Defense 5, but they work for it. They have a shield. They have Herald of Stone. There's a gap you can get in there and do work.
Yep.
Steel Forge, baseline Defense 5. Eat a dick.
Yep. If you don't have cleave, you're done. Nothing's happening.
And even then, even if you have smite, they're still evasion 1, so they get those 5 tokens, keeps them alive longer. Tempered Steel Shaper casts Harden 1 on them, keeps them alive longer. Like, that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
And it boggles my mind. And like, they're mediums, they're at 210 point. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god. I would not be surprised if this fucking unit got nerfed. Like, after Gen Con.
I would be surprised.
If it didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
You wanna fix this or what? Like,
it does seem extremely overtuned, but like you can like I'm just looking at the other sheets here, and it's like you just throw your dart like a dart at the book, and you'll hit an overtuned stat line. Inferno Automata, faster than a horse.
Faster than a horse, yep, man. That thing with 2 legs, faster than the 4-legged thing.
More resilient than an orc's.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is up with the Inferno Automata?
And it's just everything is so competitively costed. Like, I feel like I'm eventually just gonna start sounding like a broken record, but like,
that's what's happening. So one of the guys in the BonkTable Discord made a Excel spreadsheet for Dweg and their stats, and he basically found that Dweg, for their stat allocation compared to other factions, were about 10 to 15% cheaper for their point costs than other factions for what they were getting costed at. So in this case, like, I'm just going to use 2 examples that have no correlation to each other, and if they do, great on me. Dragon Slayers at 210 would be like, I don't know, Ash and Dawn at 240. Like, they should be up more points for their stat line and what they're getting. And it was just found like Dweg basically kept all their point costs from 1.15, but then received like that extra 5th wound and a couple other things, a couple other areas there. To the point where it's like, okay, so they are spending less for more. Because the thing about Dweg, and what I hear from the developers, is that Dweg is very easy for new players to play because it's just all stats and you just move in and fight people. Except because they're all cheap, you're getting elite statted infantry and regiments for regular prices, so you still have the same amount of stuff that your opponent has, but your stats are better. And you still have enough special rules to kind of... Pardon me, I just burped. You still have enough special rules to, like, get through stuff. It's not like it's not like there's like just shield and leader on a lot of stuff. Like Steel Forge, Flux Power, Cleave 1, Impact 2, Stone Forge, Relentless Blows, Magma Force, Aura of Death.
That's the thing is they get so everything that defines
Flame Berserkers, Aura of Death, like
another faction they get at no like the thing for Wadrun was supposed to be that they had an extra wound per stand compared to other armies, but then it's like look at Dweg.
Dweg have 5 wounds.
Yeah, they also got a flat
everything
5
or
wounds
more
for every stand or more.
Is there anything here that's 4 wounds?
I would be very surprised. So everything has better defense, more wounds, a higher base clash since everything is generally at a flat 3 or sitting at a flat 4. So like a lot of these,
no, everything has 5 wounds or more.
Like there's basically Inspire as a mechanic is almost like they don't need it because they have
just high enough clash base.
Yeah. Like some of their their worst quote unquote units have lower clash. Fire Forged, I guess, but like
they're a gun and
they're a gun.
Like, you have the AP. Like Hold Ballistes, they're Clash 1, Volley 2, but like this is a light that you're just using to get on the table. Like Hold Warriors, this is your objective chuds.
Yeah, for
like and they're costed at 130 because this is the way to like put in a mainstay tax for stuff. But
your
mainstay tax is like your Fireforge, what you already get. Your mainstay tax is your Hold Things, what you already get.
Yeah,
like Dweg's war, like,
and it
gets into the next it gets into the next problem with Dweg. Dweg's character warband options are fantastic.
Yeah,
you pick a character and it has the warband that you want. So, Tempered Sorcerer, Hold Warriors, Hold Ballistes, Stone Forge, Fireforge. So you take Fireforge, Hold Warriors. You grab your Infernal Automatas, you take your Hellbringer Drake, you have your Fireforge, your Wizard sits in, or your Hellbringer Drake, your Wizard sits in. You have your Fast Speeders at Infernal Automata, what can set the line, make sure people stay off you, take objectives early, be just huge assholes and a pain in the ass. And you got your objective chuds with the Hold Warriors.
Yep.
You also have Stoneforge for some freaking reason as a mainstay. Cool.
Yeah. Or
Steel Forge. Oh, look. Hold Warriors, Hold Ballistes, Stoneforge, Fireforge. Then you get into the Steel Forge and the Magma Forged. Like,
yep.
These are things you want.
Yeah.
Hold Ray, Hold Warriors, Hold Ballistae, Hold Things, Initiates. You get into the Dragon Slayers, the Ironclad Drake, Fireforge. But if you're going to take Fireforge, you might as well go into one of the 2 Tempered Sorcerers. Stoneforge, same thing, because they're just mainstays. Argent Killua, you're going, like, this is probably the only balanced warband in the entire all of Dweg, because you get Hold Warriors, Hold Ballistae, Initiates, Wardens, but your restricted options are Magma Forge and Flame Berserkers.
And like Hold Warriors are only barely attacks when it's like if you just take an MSU of Hold Warriors for 130 points, and then you can take a brick of Flame Berserkers that's so big that it'll never take resolve damage, that has the stats of an elite restricted medium for 170 points, that moves like fast infantry and has Aura of Death. Balanced.
It's crazy.
Balanced.
Good. Stamp that.
Balanced as hell.
Oh, here. I'm reading through the chat of like, hey, how's everything? Like, what's Dweg going on with? Every regiment Dweg has 5 wounds, except Tempered Sorcerer, a character with 4, Argent Killua 4, Dragon Slayer 6, Stoneforge 7, the Drakes both at 14. Like,
and Hold Ballistae. Oh no, 5 wounds. Never mind. I was looking at their attack stat.
Yeah, but 5 wounds is fine because it's also the norm in Wadrun, but Wadrun is also like Resolve 2, Defense 2 on average.
Yeah.
While Dweg is basically like, I think it's averaging like Defense 3, Resolve 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, what the hell is going on?
That's brutal. And they have spells that have just a very high degree of utility. Dismay is brutal. Being able to shatter units on demand or nearly on demand is very potent.
Yeah, but it's what the heck was it? They had to get successes based on the highest resolve, unmodified resolve in the regiment, I believe.
Yeah,
Let me
well,
check
good
that.
news. If it's against my hunters, it's resolved 2.
Yeah, no, I've had yes. Don't worry. Argent Killua spells dismay. Yeah, the lowest unmodified resolve. Oh, so yeah, you can freaking do this. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Another excerpt from the chat. I think for me, Dweg is the epitome of what the hell am I reading? Dweg is the epitome if have your cake and eat it too faction. There isn't really a downside to anything. There isn't really a downside to almost anything in their roster. They have the best stats, a price point that isn't exorbitant, and the flexibility of being a faction that you can make massive mistakes with on the table, and it will hardly cost you much to fix it. The elemental tokens are a get out of free jail card, as well as just amplifies their already high defense and resolve. Basically, in current form, they are a pub stomping faction which could end up. What the hell? So end up contracting the growth of the game. Contracting the growth of the game because it's basically playing as that guy, the faction, where everything is better than you, and I get to pummel you as I like in grade school.
I mean, it's hard not to feel that way, especially going into some games. Like, I think there's the dev response to a lot of Dweg discussion.
Oh, it's like you guys aren't good enough.
Yeah, like it does tend to skew dismissive, whether or not the people saying it are going to agree with that assessment or not. I can't say, but that's I think how it comes across. But like the reality is, like when like saying that stats and point values and things like that are not going to be equivalent across the factions is true and fair, but it only gets you so far. And Dweg just get everything, and there's no downside. Like as a Wadroon player, like I get big swingy turns, but I have to plan my entire day around them, and they can be disrupted, and I pay for it by having stuff that's overcosted for garbage stats without my little literal song and dance. Whereas, you know, Dweg just get great stats. And then another thing that I wanted to touch on, that this doesn't come up enough because it's not competitive with all the other options, but it's still a piss off when you run into it, is the Pursuit of special rule. Like, I don't know, if you're making command stands able to duel and stuff, like maybe they should be vulnerable to dueling just to balance it. Like, it's so weird that it's just like, oh, they can kick the shit out of your characters. You can't do a fucking thing about it.
Well, you can kill during the duel, you can kill the command stand, but it's
maybe
the chapter mage is gonna win.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Or I think also something. No, I don't think they can duel other command stands. I think they can just duel other characters off the top of my head. Do I have this open? Yeah, here it is. Pursuit of Blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay. So they just duel the character?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, so you basically have the character fight the command. So, like, usually it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go fight my wizard regiment is gonna go fight this whatever, like these old warriors, and your opponent's like, I'm just gonna duel you to see if I can just cut out the wizard right now. It's no loss on them either, because it's like, well, they're just hold warriors. Who cares?
Yeah. So
yeah,
just
a weird one. But,
and it's like, as I discussed in our last episode, like having a character built to have more output than the unit, like the regiment that it's in, is I think a valid way to build characters. But there are definitely regiments that with the Pursuit of their output just gets crazy.
Oh yeah, Pursuit of Arm also did +2 to attacks or something.
I feel like it did, but I'm not seeing that here, so maybe that got changed. Maybe we're just full of shit.
Maybe if I quickly look at the army rules for the hold ray, because he's the one who has it, I think it's his supremacy. It actually says it on his supremacy. In the pursuit of the Minomancers. For the duration of battle, all command sends the army add +2 to their attack characteristic. The supremacy is always considered to be active. There you go. It's on the pursuit of the Minomancers. And you're only getting that army rule with the hold ray with his supremacy ability, so...
Yeah, so...
There it is.
Yeah, so you're getting the 2 attacks.
Until he dies. Oh, actually, it's always considered to be active.
Yeah,
I must check the Imperial officer to make sure.
Competing with the Conanier for best duelist is going to die, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so you can kill him to get rid of it. That's what it's saying there. So the holder has to be on the table. But if you kill him, all the command stands lose 2 attacks.
5 wounds, 5 resolve, defense 4.
You got him.
No problemo.
Beat the shit out of the hold ray.
Yeah.
In his band of hold thanes, or whatever the fuck. Maybe, does he have a retinue? Is there something in here that gives him bodyguard?
Oh my god.
We just bring it back to the fucking...
that would be lucky,
but
I hope that
really
doesn't happen.
Stupid and funny. No, he can... Oh my god, he can take Quicksilver Strike. Oh god.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I think happens if you're expecting to get into duels with a Koningir and Nords is like, or with the hold ray, is ultimately one of your slots is going to be going to Quicksilver because whoever doesn't have it in that scenario is the dead one. So
yeah, or you just have him running around and he's just in like a big block of Thanes and you're like, whatever, get him Thanes. You don't give a shit. Be the Anvil. You just Thane him up and Dragon Slayer him up, and there's your hammer and anvil. You did it. You are the conquest Dweg of kings.
Hold ray only gets 1 relic. There we go. That's balance.
You can take long lineage.
Good news. Oh yeah.
You can like pimp your hold ray. Watch this guy come up with all the bling, all that Dweg bling.
I don't want to know. It does feel like they get so much shit in terms of their...
So much good stuff that you want.
Yeah.
So...
Gifted in Fire, so you can use your shit tickets on character defense rolls.
Where the fuck is that?
I just looked at Gifted in Fire and Talismans. Oh, and the regiment gets a bonus, too.
Gifted in Fire says the character adds +1 to its evasion characteristic. Oh, that's what. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep her going before we get too salty. So the next one I'm going to read from a 100 Kingdoms player who's played into Dweg is... I feel super bad for Dweg players in the department that they feel shoehorned force required to play the temp source list. But the same, I hate how insane that list is, and I almost harp on it, because people roll in to defend it. I don't think your Dweg are good because the temp or sorcerer bull or Steelforge bull, but because you're a good player, so ignore my Dweg meaning. Memeing. So, this one I thought was also really interesting, because Dweghom is standing on the shoulders of the Tempered Sorcerer with the Hellbird Drink, with the great mainstay of the warbands that we've already talked about. The warband part came from another Wadroon player who's online. They, like, the rest of their stuff, like, the warbands from the Hold Ray and the Argent Killua are balanced and actually weaker if you don't play with a Tempered Sorcerer. So it's just weird. It's this weird dichotomy of if you nerf the Tempered Sorcerer and the Hellbringer Drake and that whole bubble, what is Dweg good at that point? Because you've taken away their really good stuff because it's like fucking ridiculous to deal with, and the rest of it just becomes kind of balanced nonsense. Like, is that what's happening?
Well, I mean, if their stats were more reined in, I wouldn't be so pissy about the sorcerer.
Yeah,
if that was their big pop, then that would be one thing. But it's just like there's already ice cream, there's already chocolate syrup, there's already whipped cream, and now you get 5 cherries
Oh, you forgot the sprinkles.
Every turn, yeah.
Forgot the sprinkles.
Yeah, aura of sprinkles whipping from every direction onto that Sunday.
Yeah. So another guy is talking about, I believe this is a 100k player. The main problem is that everything is, and to my knowledge, always has been balanced around the sorcerer. First it was the double casting eruption, then it became the fire sorcerer. Honestly, I can't understand why PB has not yet changed the spells in between versions so far. We also had a very situational spell, Stone and Magma Schools, or OP School of Fire, devout initiates and wardens with no spell to synergize. It's been a problem since 1.03, and the fact that it has never been truly addressed this day remains my grievance towards PB. If you take the sorcerer out of the equation, the faction as a whole is not that imbalanced. Apart from a few outliers, both good, Steelforge now, probably Stoneforge in the future, and bad, Argent as a whole, Ray Supremacy, and interactions with the Creeds. In a newbie environment, Dweghom can be a bit oppressive anyway, mostly because they are the easy mode faction. Good to very good base stats, not that many rules or interactions to keep track of. This issue resolves itself as other players become more experienced with other factions, assuming the Dweg player isn't a complete jerk and they stick around. Now, I'm not familiar with PB's way of testing, but in my opinion, they need to rebalance the faction without the sorcerer first, then rework the spells and reintroduce them into the equation. So, that's a lot of stuff, but it still touches upon what we've been talking about throughout all this. Like, the sorcerer is such a big thing that it trickles down and affects the rest of the faction so that you can actually get into and actually work on the rest of the faction properly.
Yeah.
But the sorcerer just covers everyone up because it's spirit bombing everyone.
Yeah.
Some of the things in here that this gentleman mentioned, like, one of my things is like the tokens. Like, we kind of talked about the tokens. It's super weird to have an auto pass token mechanic in a faction with such high defensive abilities. Like, in a lot of other games and systems, you don't see that in a faction like that. You'd see something like that more in, like, Nords, to be honest, what's very glass cannon-y, or, like, Wadroon, what has a bunch of glass cannon stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's a way to shore up that weakness in defense temporarily. Like, if you were playing Nords, and you could ignore, let's say it was from the Volva, maybe it was the Volva Supremacy, fuck it. You know what, let's not do the Volva, let's do something weird. The Shaman, there we go, we'll do the Shaman. The Shaman Supremacy was the tokens. And you could, like, pick stuff 8 inches from the Volva or the Shaman to then get rid of damage, basically, because that's what you're using defensively.
Yeah.
Like, you could get rid of 5 attacks coming into, like, let's say, Huskarls. Sweet, you remove 5 attacks from Huskarls. They're still getting duked on, like, they're still taking damage.
Yeah.
Like, but you know they're going to stick around a bit longer. You could do the same thing for Uger. You can do the same thing for Bocho. You can do the same thing for the Mountain Jotnars. Like,
yeah,
it helps on those factions, and I've seen it tons of times in video games, tabletop miniatures, stuff like that. And it's just weird that the tanky faction doubles down on the tankiness.
Yeah. I agree. I also, I don't know. It's the high resolve is annoying enough, but the fact that the core mechanics of the game make it so easy to take it into absurd extremes, and that'll just happen as a matter of course in list building in some cases, depending on what you're doing. That's also, it's I know that it's almost a cliched way to design dwarves just in these types of games in general, but to say that, you know, and I mentioned this in the chat as well, so anyone who's in our Discord and listens to this, I'm sorry that I'm repeating myself. But
no, we're just talking at this point.
It's the, like, dwarves should be as brave as they're gonna get, you know, more dwarves should make them more brave.
Like, what, you think they should have a negative army rule where it's like, instead of bonus resolve for Dweg, they should just, you can't manipulate their resolve?
Yeah, like, even, so let's say that they're, like, immune to terrifying even, but they can't gain resolve, or something like that would feel, at least it would feel
better.
Yeah.
You can do something once you get around that high defense, like.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's,
it's a whole thing that has to go back. Like, this faction basically needs to be rebuilt midway up. Like, there's some stuff in here that you can keep as is, and there's other stuff that just needs to have a full relook at, because like one of them from one other guy is like flux powered off the stone, not the stone forge, steel forge. Like, this is a non-rule rule. This is the funny part. People have mapped this out because it's just straight, like, it's d6 dice rolling with numbers. Like, it's not, you're not manipulating a whole ton to see what's really going to be happening. You can just shove this in a calculator and figure out what your statistical average of it is in your bell graph. Is that the +2 clash going from clash 3 to clash 5, inspiring to rerolling 6s, is the most optimal way to use the steel forge, because you're guaranteed 4 hits with cleave 1 per stand. While if you do clash 4 with 6 attacks, you might miss out on some attacks. Like, this draw event, the flux power for steel forge, it might as well say you just ought to do 4 attacks.
Yeah.
That's not really a rule. That's not really a choice. Yeah, like, this isn't really anything. And like, it's the stat lines, the combination of the tokens, it's the spirit bombing tempered sorcerer. And it's a lot of these things in tandem. Like, Dweg is very good at layering its stuff so that it builds a castle, and Dweg is also a very good faction. What does castle? What is, and the castle concept is, when you're trying to get into a castle, you're trying to find that weak point to break through and get through the walls and get to the keep and kill everybody. But because Dweg is really good at castling, because of their high stats, defense-wise and resolve-wise, it's very hard to break their castle to get in, so you're trapped and you're just banging yourself on the walls until you get shot to death and die. And Dweg is the epitome of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, we've, painted a rosy picture here, but it's...
No, it just, like, it had to be said. I wanted this out because it was just kept getting frustrating to look at. It was getting frustrating to play against. It was getting frustrating to deal with, because it's like, how do you deal with this? So let's get into that part of this episode. How do you deal with current Dweg? Because there's got to be something, basically. Like, what? Like,
well,
what do you do when you play into Dweg to try and win? I'm gonna ask you that question.
Well, so that's the problem, right? So I have what should be answers to that, but ultimately aren't, because like the one thing that I can do in the current scenario pack as a Wadrun player, as a Nord player, to win against the Dweg is to score enough that when they table me, I've got enough of a lead that they can't make it back. But with the options that they have, like, they can use Inferno Automata to contest points, attack objective markers very easily, so they can interfere with scoring that way, or help secure an early lead or point parity that would otherwise be easier for me to obtain against other factions. And then I have to double check who can do this, but I believe, where are we here? Just a moment. Yeah, so the Ardent Caraway is a medium who can go into Flame Berserkers. So not only do they get Wadrun's wounds, but they get the early scoring trick too. And it's very easy to get it and to set it up, and Flame Berserkers do work, so you're not, like, it's not like you're taking a bad unit to get them. So like, in theory, I should be able, like, I should have units that get on points, score immediately, try and knock down my point if it's an objective marker game as quickly as possible, and then just try to gum them up while I die. Which actually isn't really, like, my idea of having a fun war game in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. So that's what should happen in theory, but when they can, like, threaten me as quickly as I can do anything that I need to do to win, and also score as quickly as I can, I don't know what my option is because when you have the sorcerer, for instance, and the fucking ranged guys, the Fireforged, like if you have a score advantage, you don't need to leave your line. You don't need to put any of your units into threat. So now your castle is like secure. The best possible wall it can have. And even if I'm sieging it with all of my might, you can still concentrate all of your forces where they need to be easily, and you get 5 shit tickets every activation.
Fucking shit tickets.
So
yes, I've also noticed that Dweg doesn't have like a faction hole, if you want to say it, or like a faction weakness. So if like faction weakness like Spires, very low access to cleave, like comically low.
Yeah.
So low, in fact, that Incarnate Sentinels people take all the time because they're like the only sure thing with cleave in their entire faction, basically.
Yeah.
100 Kingdoms, no monsters, no brutes, but they make up it in some other ways. But they're not. They're just dudes. Like everything is kind of just like they got some good shooting, but it's not the best. They got some good cavalry, but it's not the best. Like it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Nords, incredibly like glass cans. They're dying. Like that's your hole.
Yeah.
Wadroon, I want to say it's the skill ceiling, like the skill floor and the skill ceiling is really tough in Wadroon because you have to learn how to chant and you got to get good at chanting. And once you get that down, when Wadroon unlocks for you, like it's stuff like that. While Dweg, when you expect to see Dwegs and like dwarves quote, because in the lore they're not actually dwarves, they're like 5'8" and they're just ripped. Like they're basically the same size as humans. But yeah. Tear their shirt off like fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Just do us beat down.
So these pocket princes.
Oh my god. They don't have a faction hole or weakness because they have Infernal Automa to move up the table fast. They have the Hellbringer Drake with the monster to be a monster and use their guns. They got good guns in Fireforge and Hellbringer Drake. They got the best wizard in the game with the Tempered Sorcerer. They have really good melee killers with the Dragon Slayers. They have really good anvils with the Hold Warriors, Hold Thanes, Warders, Initiate, like Flame Berserkers. Flame Berserkers are also faster at the table. Like all the things that you want to cover in a list or have options for, Dweg has. It is the have your cake and eat it too faction.
And the points are a big contributor to that. And I've been wanting to mention this or reinforce this point as well. And I keep missing my opportunities. But like a lot of the way they are right now, like if it was a struggle for them to get 6 regiments on the table because everything was so expensive.
Great.
I feel like a lot of these things would bother me way less.
100%, because it's...
But they have the same size army as me, but they're tougher and better.
Yep. And it's like, oh, I want to outflank them. Okay, well, they have the same amount of stuff, so they just counter you.
Yeah.
Like, they'll just move something in the way.
Yeah.
Hold Warriors, get in the way. Okay, well, I got to kill 3 of these Hold Warriors. All right, I've killed the Hold Warriors. Oh, yeah, while that's been happening, I've been shooting at you. All right, we're finally into the Hellbringer Drake. Flame wall, dead.
Yeah.
What's next? Like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's essentially you have to wait for your opponent to make such a huge mistake that they can't possibly recover from it.
Yeah, and it's just like what do you do? So I talked to a gentleman who's won a tournament. I'm gonna find out like what. So I asked him kind of questions of like, I'm looking for examples and opinions. I'm looking for like, what is Dweg good into? What is weak into? What is the perspective for players playing into it and his Dweg? And, I'm just kind of like, hey, what's like, going on here? So the Cliff Notes, Dweg's weakness is relatively low wound count overall. And if you can remove the Arcane 3 Sorcerer, their output falls off super fast. So if you're playing into Dweg, you got a beeline for that Sorcerer. Whatever it takes, kill him. If you have to sacrifice your mother, you sacrifice your mom. If you got to sacrifice the love of your life, you didn't love them enough because you have to kill the sorcerer. Like, kill the sorcerer. Probably the biggest weakness is that they have to turn to face, which sounds dumb, but you can just often move out of their line of sight, and it really fucks up their plans. So that kind of follows, like, line of sight with regiments, and it does sound dumb, but I totally see where he's coming from with this, because if they have to then, if they draw their wizard card and there's nothing in range, or like you're kind of flanking that way outside their line of sight before they activate the unit to turn, well, that wizard is wasted. So that's something you can kind of do to play around and try and get through Dweg. Some of their strengths, though, is that they have absurd range output and simply too many stats are too high. They're just mathematically superior. They don't do anything particularly well except defense 5, but they just have a free clash in defense like everywhere, as Dweggy as a 5th wound feels. They need to lose some other stats. The move out of line of sight thing is real, though. It rarely matters if they flank, because it's mostly high AP range, or they already have re-rolling resolve from flame, but flanking them is highly effective aside of the ray blocking, at least. So, then I ask him, like, have you found it been easy for yourself to outflank them and stay out of line of sight to win games? What are traps newer players have problems? What are traps new players have problems with into Dweg? What are traps of successes experienced players have into Dweg? Easy isn't the right word, but generally speaking, moving past the flanks of most armies isn't particularly difficult. Avoiding being horrifically punished for doing so is. That's a good quote right there.
Yeah.
Because it is true. It's not hard to run past someone. That can fuck to death. Once you do it, though, is kind of the hard part.
Yeah.
Dweg have generally shorter ranges, but means going wide around them leaves you less suspicious. Oh, what the fuck? Why can't I say words? I had to do a whole reading thing today, and I've just been, like, fucked since this morning.
I just,
Control? I'm just gonna do... I'm gonna be bad right now. This will probably not come up in... Susceptible! Wow, I can't read. So... Dweg have generally shorter ranges. That means going wider around them leaves you less susceptible to their focus fire advantage. Newer players tend to fight things head on. That's a losing strategy against a faction with a mathematically better profile. Experienced players tend to play a castle well because the game rewards it, but wide is better than deep, and loose is better than tight against Dweg. As that plays into their biggest advantage, high damage focus fire, but take aim is super important for them, and sometimes you can march push charge the flank of either Drake or Fireforge with a sorcerer, and then boom, no spell casting because they can't see the flankers, and they're engaged. Creating space is key against Dweg, also choosing matchups. That's like basic concepts of playing games. So that's this gentleman's answers to kind of Dweg. And you know what? Reading this from a gentleman who's like won some tournaments, doing really well, kind of makes sense, but it's also really difficult to play into, because what normally happens is if you have a player of same skill level, the Dweg player wins because the Dweg player is just going to counter your moves as you do them.
Yeah.
And then shoot you in the face. So it's really tough to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of this stuff what this gentleman is saying, I believe is the right way to handle with Dweg. It's just really tough to do, because like once you start going for that flank, you leave yourself susceptible to just being moved and shot at or something.
And that's the other thing is, like, those are all fair points, but like if they're at scoring parity or at an advantage, they don't need to overextend in any respect whatsoever. They can literally just park on their side of the table and wait it out. Mm-hmm. And so, like, whereas at least if I was consistently able to get a scoring advantage over them as a lighter army, at least it would create that need for them to potentially move something out of position to start scoring or to mitigate my ability to score. But as it stands currently, like if they're just diligent about getting their stuff onto points in the first 2 turns, which again, because they have the benefit of a light that they can put a medium in that is fucking fast, that is cavalry speed. And that costs nothing to put that character into the... Well, no, not cavalry speed, sorry. Just barely, because I was thinking of Inferno Automata, I guess. But the Ardent's, yeah, it's 6 though, and you can take I think you can take a standard bearer and get that extra inch. So overall, it's
On who?
on the Flame Berserkers. No, I guess I'm wrong about that. Sorry, my mistake.
Is it?
Oh no, yeah, they get a. I'm looking
builder?
at the PDF, and it does say that Flame Berserkers get a standard bearer.
Yeah, man, they go.
Yeah, so they're really fucking fast. They're not cavalry speed, but they are really fucking fast. And like, I have to spend more points as Woodrune to get that kind of mobility on a scoring unit, just straight up. Overall, but nonetheless, like, so the like everything that they said is true in theory. But if the Dweg player is in a position where they don't have to make themselves vulnerable, then none of those things are really true.
Yeah, and there's times where I'll be playing the game, and to like protect my flank, I just move my flank up beside a building or another regiment to cover it. So it's like, okay, you have to like make double march actions to come and get me, and while you're doing that, I'm just gonna twist and come at you because you're slowly getting closer to get around me, and I can just rotate, or I can just sit there and back up because I'm like stuck between two obstructions or another regiment, and it's just like, okay, how do I get in? Like, if I'm gonna try and get in, then I gotta run all the way around. I'm not fast enough, and then by that point, my opponent's gonna deploy something further back to go deal with me because now I'm stuck between stuff. Like,
yeah,
your tabled economy or die economy also matters when playing against stuff because, like, of course I'm gonna use the terrain to my advantage. It's the whole point of terrain.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with him. It's still tough because, like, when you come up to a table, it's like, what list are you playing? What's your opponent playing? What does the table look like? What is the scenario playing? That's going to constitute where you move stuff and where you put things to score the scenario, counter deploy your opponent, deploy threats that your opponent has to counter deploy themselves. Like, it turns into a dance, and Dweg just go, yeah, so anyway, you want to dance, I'm just going to step on your feet for a couple times, like, for the next 5 minutes. Another guy who I talked to, this guy's an actual Dweg player and has 25 wins, 2 ties, and 2 losses before they switched to Spires. So, I asked him, what are Dweg's strengths, what are Dweg's weaknesses, stuff like that. The same question I asked before. Things to know, though, is that they stopped using Steelforge in casual games because people would just say, oh yeah, I was going to charge it with my 1 cleave 2 unit, but then you would just have to use the tokens. So that's a great thing to hear. Like, a lot of I don't hate Dweg players. So if you're a Dweg player, I don't hate you at all. Like, you picked a faction that you like the look of, you like the lore, you like the models, you liked its playstyle. I'm never going to fault you for that. Like, because I do it. I picked 100 Kingdoms because I like the Steelforge and the Household Knights. Or not the Steelforge, the Steel Legion, the Household Knights. But, like, I blame the game.
Well, it's just it.
To be honest.
It's
so you're saying there?
Well, it's I mean, that's really where it lands, because it's
just an uphill fight. So, strengths for Dweg: super point efficient with Sorcerer and Steelforge verging on overpowered. Extremely good at focus firing combined with very durable units, mean that unless an enemy engages us perfectly, we're very likely to win a straight up fight. A wide array of options for early table control make it easy for you to force your opponent to risk such a fight. I think one of our greatest strengths is the lack of taxes. Every character has a mainstay option that looks like they should be restricted, so you never have to take something that doesn't contribute to your strategy. Wizard units are not weaker like in some armies. Thanes, Fireforge, and Ballistas stand out. Weaknesses: in lists with so many heavies and no automata, you struggle to control the objectives early, and bad deployment rolls can provide the opponent an opening to snag a win. I think this has been the problem for most Dweg losses I've seen on YouTube, including Battle Report you posted recently. Tempered lists basically ignore this issue, especially since Steelforge were released. The Hold Ray and the Argent Killua remain trap warlords. The power offered by Thanes, Dragon Slayers, and speed and table control offered by Berserkers was Argent. Don't justify making them more than auxiliary warbands. I think Tempered formed the center of a competitive list. Yeah, like the Tempered's warband choices, abilities just outclass the other options in Dweg. And when you play a Hold Thane Warlord or you play a Argent Kilo Warlord, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, basically.
Yeah. But not so much that you're not still in a great position to do well.
Yeah, you can still do stuff and do well, but it's just like...
You just don't have the 5 shit tickets every turn.
The 5 shit tickets. Sure. Let's see here. What else? Who else did I talk to? So, talked to another guy. He's from... he's another high-end player. Knows what they're doing. I've seen their games. They're pretty good. They said there's nothing wrong with Dweg. Their only weakness is that a new player read the Dweg are good and don't have to buy as much stuff, so they don't know what they're doing. If you have a Dweg player that knows what they're doing, you're kind of fucked. Don't quote me on that, though. Shit.
Well,
fuck.
Sorry, pal.
Delete this out. Delete this out. Delete this out. He's probably not the best one to talk about Dweg. My Dweg players have all moved on to other factions because Dweg are dull. So yeah. And that's what seems to be happening. Like, I'm going to take the Dweg as dull part of this. It seems like players who got into Conquest, played Dweg, played a bunch of it, just got tired of winning because it wasn't a challenge. Like, it wasn't... You didn't have to think to win. And that's what one of our locals says when I talk to him about this, is that when we play a game with, like, 100 Kingdoms into Dweg or whatever into Dweg, he doesn't think about the game. He just pushes stuff forward and just goes, oh, that blocked that. Okay, cool. Oh, that went there. Okay, cool. Oh, that killed that. Okay, cool. Like, it wasn't a challenge for them, and now they're playing a different faction because it's more enjoyable to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... Yeah, I have yet to have the luxury of playing an overpowered faction in a war game. I tend to favor underpowered factions that are cool. So I don't know what it's like to have an overpowered faction, but I could see myself losing interest in the game pretty quickly if it was just a walk forward and steamrolling type.
So in my local meta and War Machine, I would... This is what usually happened, and one of my buddies noticed this when we were playing, is that I would play a list, I would kind of get bored because I was winning too much, and then I would go build something completely different and play it. And if it was really good, I would just start winning. But if it was like, I needed to learn it and figure it out, because I was like, oh, this seems like a fun idea. Like, there was the Super Friends list in War Machine, where you basically took a bunch of junior warcasters and junior warlocks with their like weird beasts like a bear and an alligator and all this other crap, and it was like, oh look, it's the Super Friends. I did a version of that in Mark III, and I played it 5 times, and I lost all 5 games, and then it clicked, and then I never lost a game with that list going forward every time I played it. So after winning for 2 months straight, 4 games a week, this was no longer a challenge. I went and built something else. I came to the game store, lost my 5 games, and then it clicked, and then I won with that for 2 months straight for 4 games a week. And then I redid the process over and over again, basically. And one of my buddies noticed that I would do that.
Yeah.
And then, when there's a tournament coming up, I'd, make sure in advance I had 2 months before the tournament so that I could make a list click and not lose. So I have these coins from like winning steamrollers and stuff that I just have around, and they're just like, oh, I just have a stack of them. They're kind of funny. So, another player. So yeah, so with that, it's really just, if people are finding something too easy, they just they just stop playing it because it's not a challenge. Like, people like a challenge. People like to grow. People like to expand. And Dweg is the I win button. So if you're a person who just like wants to win, play Dweg.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna lie here. Go grab the tempered steel shaper, tempered sorcerer, put him in the fire school, get the Hellbreaker, get the steel forge, get the fire forge, and throw that at people and win the games. You might play it, and you might have to learn how to play conquest and everything, and kind of get good and like figure out how to do stuff. But once you get there, once you lose those 5 games, I'm just using that quotes for my story.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be successful. Just win.
Yep.
Do you want me to? Yeah.
That's I don't know what else to say there. It's it seems like any vulnerabilities you'd have getting into Dweg in this game are just going to come from you being inexperienced with war games. Once you have a basic grasp of how the whole
because
the whole thing is done, then you're good.
Dweg rewards the basics because it's just a stats faction with overtuned stats and abilities.
Yeah,
and the abilities you're getting are just whatever the sorcerer is doing.
And the idea of having just like a solid, fundamentals
like a stat
army is not bad in and of itself, but a balance, like an army still has to have weaknesses.
Yeah, so in War Machine, the 2 good fundamentals factions were Menoth and Trollbloods. If you're really good at your fundamentals of the game, you could play Trollbloods and Menoth very well and be very successful. But they also didn't have a huge amount of tricks or crazy things they were doing, and had some very basic abilities. Like, Menoth was the no faction. Like, if you wanted to do something, Menoth would be like, nope, I have this rule, or nope, I got that thing, or nope, I'm immune to spells, or nope. But its units and stuff weren't like, oh, because we said no, you can't just kill us. It was just like, I want to cast a spell. No, they're spell immune. I want to cast a spell. Oh, it costs you double. Oh, I want to knock stuff around. No, it's around this model. It gives a no knockdown bubble. Like, it really rewarded you just playing your fundamentally and keeping stuff within bubbles and auras. While Dweg is like, our stats are way better. We can stay within our bubbles and auras to do everything we want. Die. We also have the offensive capability to just kill you.
Yeah.
Super fun.
It's good times.
So, this next person who I'm going to read quotes off, is Hannah, Queen of the United Kingdoms of Humans. So, the 100 Kingdoms Queen. So, I asked her, what's, like, what are Dweg like? Like, what do you think is strong? What do you think is weak? What do new players successful? What experience with doing? So, she replied with, what do you think Dweg is strong? Regiments, heroes, actually everything. It's not in every combination. There are things that are fair, such as no sorcerer. This robs the army of much of its scenario play and flexibility, but without that, the whole game is very exhausting, and the Dweghom has to know exactly what they're doing. What do you think their weaknesses are? They have no tricks except that they have good attack and defense rules. In other words, there are a few surprises, and there's a lack of sensible movement apart from drakes and automata. You can particularly compensate for that with the Ardent and Berserkers. With Warlord, Ardent is a power, but the Sorcerer Warlord is simply 3 times as good. What do new players need to do to be successful in handling Dweg? Luck. That's it. Yep, that's it. Great. Love it. Great.
Yep.
What are experienced players doing to handle Dweg? If you know exactly what is happening on the disc, you can manipulate many Dweghom lists. Pull targets apart, kill, move on. Overwhelm the mage with goals when you have to give them some, and never really just try to break through. Most Dweghom regiments are just too stable. Always calculate beforehand. So, Dweghom was really good at focused firing, as has been mentioned by other players who've been playing, but if you give them too many targets or, sneak around stuff and break through and kill their wizard, that's kind of the way to go for Dweghom success. Also luck. Oh my god, the luck.
Yeah. Gonna take some luck.
I think that's it. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna think the last one. Do you want me to go through? So, one guy emailed me 3 pages of what he thought about Dweghom.
Oh wow. Maybe we should just hit the highlights on that one.
He was like, I'll write you up a Word document. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yikes.
Yeah, he broke down every single thing he had played and what he thought about it. So he thinks the Tempered Sorcerer is the Tempered Sorcerer is fine for its gun and spells, except the Supremacy is the thing that leans it towards being broken, as well as the elemental power tokens. We've already discussed this. He thinks the Hold Ray is great and fine. It does exactly what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks its Warband is really good. Hold Warriors, he basically just says these are the objective chuds, so they're really good. Hold Thanes is probably a super great tanky unit, and he loves them.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Slayers, he thinks is the best unit in Dweg. At least on paper. He hasn't played the Steel Forge yet, thank God, so that will probably take that spot.
Yeah.
Hellbringer Drake is a great gun platform, can sit in his own score while just shooting and being a mount for the wizard who just blasts. Also, it's fast at movement 7. And then we got, Tempered Steel Shaper. It's basically just buff stuff and be tanky and get you points for elemental power. Fireforge are awesome with their AP2, and having a wizard with them just makes the wizard more survivable, and also, like, you just double dip on the range output. He really likes Infernal Automata because of how fast they are and how great they are at, like, taking out stuff. And let's see here. I'm just reading this for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like happy that they're a light. Steel Forge, he just thinks are really busted. Then he has like some couple notes on stuff that hasn't been out yet, but that's fine. But yeah, like we've kind of touched on all this stuff already.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain point where really you're just kind of reiterating the same things on the just finding new examples of the things that you've already sort of iterated on is what I mean to say. So,
yeah.
What about? Yeah, I mean, it you know, I don't. Yeah, I don't know how much. What new way we can say this? Yeah, other than just like,
fuck.
They just something's got to give.
Yeah, and so what? You can make 3 changes to current Dweghom. What are they? Go.
So eliminating defense 5.
Okay.
Shit.
Making you think now, aren't I? You thought this was just a bitch episode, but now I'm making you work.
Yeah. No movement 8.
Where's movement 8? That's only the Infernal Automata.
Yeah, but I get it out of there. Let's see here. Because I don't want to just be like, no shit tickets, but that would be a start.
I would fucking say yes to that. No shit tickets. Jesus.
That's an easy one. I'd probably go with that, but just in the interest of not having Dweg players throw a fit, I would say just like making it so that you can't get around Smite with it.
So it doesn't, yeah.
Just make smites. Don't cheat.
Or how about the shit tickets only work on defense rolls and not evasion?
Well, yeah, that's
no, but then it gets the smite thing. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's either that or good.
But then that's still better if the shit ticket doesn't like. If the how about it only works for the defense characteristic, not the evasion characteristic. So if something reduces your defense to 0, you can't use a shit ticket, but you can still roll your evasion. So then, like, your evasion 1 or 2.
I mean, I guess that's what it's
But
gonna
it's
be,
not like a
but-
free auto pass.
No,
Your
you know
points
what?
supposed
Fuck
to
it.
go
Just
for
get rid of the whole thing. I don't give a shit. Why do I need to?
Yeah.
Why do I need to be the grown up here? I don't.
I was like, my number one is actually get rid of the shit ticket thing, to be honest.
Yeah, fuck the shit
My
tickets. No defense.
My next
5.
one. Yeah. So, no shit tickets, no defense 5, no speed 8. Those are your 3?
I think so. Let me take. No, you know what? No double cast.
Okay, which one of those 3 are you moving? Then?
I'm getting rid of no movement 8. That was too specific. I was giving them an easy one.
That was it's too easy.
Yeah.
Mine, so not to copy you, I would say increase the price of basically all of Dweg's work regiments, Fireforge, Hellbringer Drake,
Oh fuck! I would have taken point increase too. Yeah, that was a good one.
Infernal Automata, Steel Forge, Stone Forge, Mega Forge, probably the Ironclad Drake whenever this motherfucker comes out. Like, I've heard it's good, but I haven't played into it, so I'm not going to really be looking at you that much.
Yeah.
Hold waves, you're fine. Hold things, you're almost fine. I don't want to touch you. Drain Slayers, you're fine. Like, also the price of some of these characters, like Tempered Sorcerer, if you're going to keep it the way it is, has to go fuck it up high in points. Like, put some of these points up. Jesus Christ. Like, 210 for current Steel Forge, even Defense 4 Steel Forge, still too good.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fireforge, you're a restricted option now. Pay for the best wizard regiment in the entire game. Pay for it.
Yep.
Infernal Automata, yeah, you should. These things should be like speed 7 or 8, or like 6 for what they're doing. Like, my god.
Yep.
Why are you speed 8? Like, those are some changes I would like to see. And overall, like, to be honest, it's not like the big change would literally be Tempered Sorcerer nerf in their creed, like the shit tickets, their double cast, Fireforge becoming restricted. I think those 3 big ones right there truly changes up how Dweg players build their lists and what they do with their lists.
Yeah.
Because a Hellbringer Drake with a wizard on top is strong, but it only gets busted once you add in that second wizard who's just like kamikaing the world with the shit tickets. Like, that's like individually you can handle these things, but once you start layering them, as we've mentioned before, it's fucking rough. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think that's. I think I've got my catharsis.
Yeah, we catharsis. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy we did this episode. I'm happy we talked about it. I'm happy we broke it down. I'm happy that I talked to other people about it to get some research in to be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, what do you think? Because like, I don't want to just have my own echo chamber of my own thoughts and my own local group. And it's like, I asked people from who play Dweg. I asked people who play Wadroon, 100K, City States. I asked players who win high-end tournaments. I asked players who are just starting out. I like, there was a good smattering of people, and a lot of it just kind of repeated itself across a smattering of people. And I'm not surprised, to be honest. Just because it's like, what is going on with Dweg?
Oh, sadly, we have only theories and no answers.
Yeah. So, are we gonna wrap this up then?
Yeah, I think that's probably where we're gonna have to leave off. I mean, I'm hoping that after Gen Con, we'll maybe see some moves in the right direction.
3 to 4 months, a Dweg change.
Yeah, but I mean, our local Dweg person doesn't really show up that often, so. And the other one plays City States, so.
Well, no, I actually talked to him. He got a new job, and he's planning to come down on this Thursday. So if he doesn't show up, shoot me a message, and I'll call him and bitch at him.
Okay.
Get the sex dungeon whips out.
Wow.
Everyone loves.
I think we need a moderator in this podcast now.
Oh my god! You go get the moderator off the Discord channel in here and be like, "Shut the fuck up."
Well, you know what? You know what? Never mind. Yeah, let's get them in here.
I'm not gonna end it that bad. All right, so
Yeah.
thank you. I'm gonna
Yeah, take us home, Mass.
Yeah, I'll take us home. I want to thank everyone for listening to our rant, like for about an hour and a half about Dweg. Like, I'm happy we said it. If you agree or disagree, join the BonkTable Conquest server. The link is in the description below in the show notes. Wherever you're listening to this, click on it, hop on, message me there, and we'll chat about it. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's obviously wrong. Like, we'll have a reasonable conversation.
I will be like that.
Yes, you will be, and I will banish you to a dark place.
But yeah.
Actually, I don't think I can banish you because you're the owner of the freaking server.
Yeah, you know what? You'll find that I make things come together the way that they should when I have the benefit of being able to make decisions. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's definitely very hard to actually control what I do in any given set of circumstances, and I generally try to design it that way. But I will say to the listeners out there, whether you liked what we said or you hated it, you have to agree we did some pretty good swears in these last 2 hours. And at the end of the day,
God.
That's all you came here for.
You just hear us swear.
Yeah.
We should find new swears.
On the king.
Teach listeners new words.
New cusses. Oof.
Yeah, new cusses.
I can't.
We also got...
I can't be given that level of power.
We can find someone to do it. Let's be honest here. I need to go find an Australian to learn some of the good swears. The good cusses.
All the see you next Tuesday variants.
BonkTable also has a YouTube channel. You can check out our battle reports. We even put this podcast up on there if you just want to look at the meme and also listen to it. That's totally for you.
Yep. And our Discord has a permalink now, so you probably will be able to reliably follow a link that you see to our Discord. And
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, I've been told by a couple people that we should get a Patreon, so I'll probably work on that at some point.
Yes. And
all right, that'll be.
Patreon
how about
us.
How about we can?
us.
I don't know what the fuck we're gonna offer. We'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, no, never mind. I'm not gonna finish that thought. We'll figure out something that's fun and good and that people actually want, and not just a comedy idea that I was gonna bust out there.
That's really all we're gonna be for. We'll DM you jokes directly.
Yeah.
No, first, yeah. Probably, I don't know. We'll probably be like, once it's done and ready, or maybe we'll do raws. It's like, here, take the raw. Like, it's fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Yikes.
Yeah, no, you probably shouldn't do that. That gets real bad real quick.
Yeah, that's
We talk about our feelings in the raws before we start each episode.
Yeah, and I got real big ones, if you couldn't tell.
All right, everyone.
Have a wonderful night.
Bye.